Barangaroo Studios, the AusBiz COB is the key stuff you need to know about the day in business and finance.
Hi there, welcome to the COB. I'm Nadine Blaney. A pleasure to be here with you on this Monday afternoon as we have the curtains coming down on this session. And it wasn't anything to write home about, was it? I mean, we did hit the lows of the day pretty early on, as we have. The threat of more tariffs from Donald Trump, saying that he was going to introduce a 25% tariff on all steel and aluminium imports into the country. Of course, our government has come out and said that our steel and aluminium help create American jobs and also keep us on a firm footing when it comes to our defense capabilities as a key ally with the United States. So look, that story still has a ways to run. We've got Europe talking tough when it comes to their ability to retaliate if there are any sort of tariffs. But yeah, Donald Trump using tariffs as a tool, really. Some say a negotiating tool, but we'll see. We'll see where it all ends. We do know that the market finished off today down by about 0.25%. So a big turn when it comes to those tariffs. Also, we had some results coming through from the retailers in particular, JB Hi-Fi, and we've got a bit of pressure coming through when it comes to the tech names as well. So let's take a look at some of these sectors. There's BHP, Rio Tinto, Fortescue was in positive territory earlier, as was Mineral Resources, but both of those stocks are now down. So the big miners weighing on the market overall. Check this out as well. Even though that JB Hi-Fi result, well, many call it bumper result, shares are coming under pressure, off by more than 4%. Harvey Norman down by 1.3%, and Levies off by 2.5%. As we mentioned earlier, we have had some allegations being brought against the founder and CEO of WiseTech Global. That's weighing on its share price, off by about 4%. But elsewhere, we are still seeing weakness. Audinate, for one, it had a price target cut coming through. Now, let's get to JB Hi-Fi. Terry Smart, the CEO, says that he's pretty cautious because of all the uncertainty in the retail market. Also calling out competition. Pilbara Minerals has foreshadowed a first half loss. It's putting one of its processing plants into care and maintenance. So that's coming in light of that steep drop in lithium prices, and a bit of a change in the C-suite coming through at Westpac. Deborah Hazelton and David Cohen have been named independent non-executive directors. And don't forget that Ansell, it reported today, shares doing really well, up by 8.5%, or roundabout there. Says that plans are in place to offset tariff increases through pricing. And there's the rub when it comes to this tariff threat emanating from the U.S. administration, is, it makes the job more complicated when it comes to the Fed and interest rate cuts. We're getting an inflation read in the U.S. this week, and there is some anecdotal evidence that that some companies have been lifting their prices ahead of any tariffs coming through. So that puts inflationary pressures into the economy, and could make the Fed's job even more difficult. Don't forget that we do have Jerome Powell testifying in front of the House of Reps, I think, later this week, Tuesday and Wednesday, in front of the House, I should say, in the U.S. All right, look, stock of the day, JB Hi-Fi, Philip Pepe from Shaw & Partners, and Nathan Somasundaram from Deep Data Analytics gave us their view on that.
People have been calling it for a sell for a while based on valuation. Valuation is just one thing that drives performance. If a company continues to outperform probably conservative analyst forecasts going forward, this stock will grind higher. So yes, it looks expensive based on analyst price targets today. I think we'll get some upgrades in earnings in the next 24 hours. For me, this is a bottom draw stock. It's always going to look expensive. Quality companies do. It's a buy. It's a buy. It's a buy. Hang on for the ride. This could be $200 in 5 years' time.
They execute. I've got no problems with that. But it's a cyclical. We're in a market where Combank has zero growth and is trading at historical high multiple. If it's a yield stock, if you look at it against the 10-year bond yield, it should be probably trading below $100, right? So it's been pumped up by passive money, and I get that, and that's fine. And nobody's going to sell the banks because you bought it when it was nothing and you've got massive capital gains. Similarly, JB Hi-Fi, if you bought it cheap, you don't care, but because you've done well, and they're not going to go bust. But it is a cyclical.
So there you go. That's the verdict on JB Hi-Fi. There's no turning Mathan when it comes to these retail stocks. All right, let's welcome to the COB Josh Gilbert, who's from eToro. Josh, good afternoon to you. Look, US dollar strength. It's just another day, another headline coming from the US.
It absolutely is, Nadine. Yeah. Look, I think we know what we're probably going to be getting from Donald Trump when it comes to markets over the next few years. We're certainly going to be waking up from a weekend to sort of some sort of news. It feels like he likes to drop something up with us on a Friday and markets react, and then probably by the end of the session on Monday, markets will probably finish up. But look, I think the tariffs that he's obviously rolled out here in that sense, just to sort of touch on that quickly, it sort of feels less aggressive than what we sort of saw the other day. Obviously it's very specific tariffs sort of coming through, but I think it does go to show that we are going to continue to see these sort of changes. I think markets are probably going to be less shocked by it now over the next couple of weeks, particularly after we had that 24-hour trade war back last week. So look, certainly going to be interesting, certainly keeps us on our toes. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, okay. So when it comes to reporting season here locally, anything sort of standing out? Does it usually get people on the platform and trading?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I mean, we only get them a couple of times a year, right, compared to sort of the US, when we sort of get those quarterly numbers come a little bit more often. So I think when they do come through, tend to see that little bit more volatility coming through some of those corporate names. JB was obviously a great example, as you sort of speaking about there. Pretty decent result all in all, but obviously let down by maybe a little bit of negativity coming from the CEO and maybe those margins as well. And the stock that's obviously had a great couple of years is obviously falling. I mean, this week obviously really kicks us off at AGL and Origin, a couple of big names on the energy front there. I think they'll be in focus. Probably CBA, as we know, though, will be the sort of the main name. Again, another stock that's had a great year. That's where we're probably going to see a lot of the activity, valuation really sort of coming into question there. I think the stock is pretty much priced to perfection, given that it's had that strong rally. So I think the focus there is going to be improving revenue growth, net interest margins. If it doesn't quite hit the spot, as we saw from something like JB today, if it doesn't deliver across sort of all metrics, then might be a little bit of disappointment. But I think, look, I think broadly, that rate cut, that we're expecting to sort of come through at the end of this month, may bring some sort of positive commentary from some stocks as well, which might give us a bit of a boost also. Okay,
well, yeah, that's the weight of expectation really has grown for this cut to come through when the RBA meets next week. Josh, it's safe to say that the quarterlies in the US are pretty much done and dusted?
Yeah, look, I mean, most of those big names have done, right? The big tech names have sort of come and delivered. I think the biggest disappointment coming from those names that we've had so far has probably been cloud sort of disappointment, across, Alphabet. Sort of last week was one of the names that disappointed. Amazon's cloud growth as well, and Microsoft. So those are the three big players when it comes to cloud, and really the market wasn't as excited by it as they were sort of expecting, and really that's coming from big capex. But they all three had the same issue, was that basically demand was sort of outstripping supply. That's all great news for Nvidia, and that is the big name that we are still sort of yet to see. Nvidia usually reports a little bit later than everyone else, so that will come towards the end of the month. This week we have a few names. We've got sort of Airbnb, Coca-Cola, DoorDash, McDonald's, Cisco. So there are still a few names sort of coming through. So I think they're pretty interesting. Airbnb is always a great read on sort of consumer sentiment from a travel point of view, and then you can talk about the same Coca-Cola, McDonald's also. Two names we can have a look at the sort of the retailer, that sort of the retail sector, and that will be really interesting because we actually do have retail sales coming from the US on Friday as well. So I think, still a few names trickling through, but NVIDIA is going to be that sort of big one on the list that still gets report.
Yeah, right. You'll have to pull out your T-shirt, Josh, wear your cap, whatever you do when you're fanboying over NVIDIA. So, I mean, what else is driving sentiment right now? I mean, that's obviously huge results and, whatever missive comes from the U.S. White House. But, I mean, crypto, it's come under a bit of pressure below that 100,000 level. Where to from here?
Yeah, look, a bit of negativity coming from the crypto space. Look, I think particularly when we think about a macro perspective, that still does have a big impact on crypto assets. We've seen the correlation from Bitcoin and the Nasdaq pick up quite significantly over the last sort of couple of weeks. Shows that macro is sort of driving crypto right now. Look, there's a huge focus on Donald Trump being obviously a far more positive or pro-crypto president than what we've had before. Lots of obviously changes coming in at the SEC. We're going to have a new chair sort of coming through. So again, lots of positivity there, but again, that's going to sort of take time to sort of really come to fruition. And ultimately at the same time, if we do see inflation pick back up in the US, which these tariffs can potentially do, that is going to have a bit of an impact, especially if we see rates staying higher for longer as well. That sort of jobs number that we got on Friday out of the US was a bit of a sign that we're probably going to see rates sort of stay where they are, and ultimately we do see crypto is a risk asset, bottom line. So a lot of the time we want to see sort of rates coming down, and that's going to be a positive for risk apps, particularly when it comes to sort of crypto. But I think a lot of the time what we do tend to see is maybe a bit of a shift away from macro when we do have positive news on the crypto front. Right now we're just not really getting that. We've not maybe got the follow through from Trump on crypto that many expected. Again, he was a bit blasé right at the beginning on that, but any sort of real policy changes around crypto I think will take a little bit of time. It's not going to be something I think he just rolls out straight away. So I think the bigger focus is obviously going to be on those tariffs, and ultimately his presidency doesn't just revolve around sort of crypto. So that will take time, but I think it will be another positive year. But bottom line is that I think we're just sort of really focused on those sort of macro numbers at the moment, and that's sort of what's driving crypto. And that's why we're seeing a little bit of that weakness, but I wouldn't expect it to sort of stay below $100,000 for sort of too long. I think we'll sort of be back above there in the not too distant future.
Got it. All right, Josh, it's nice to catch up on this Monday afternoon. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Nadine. Have a great week.
Take care. All right, let's get across some of the market leaders, and we'll have a look at the laggards as well. Star Entertainment, so that has been top of the leaderboard in percentage terms. It has, we've got Brisbane, the Brisbane Casino in play, and that's done good things for the share price today. Ansell is one of those companies that reported, and it's, really enjoying a share price bump. Light & Wonder, Beach Energy, and Dexus. I did speak with the fund manager of the Convenience REIT, and Dexus proper up by 3.4%. On the flip side, though, we do have Car Group down, JB Hi-Fi. As Josh was saying, I suppose even though it was a very solid result, just a little bit of uncertainty and really needed to shoot the lights out to justify its valuation. Although you did hear Philip Pepe say it could be a $200 stock in the future. So 97.69 is where it ended this session today. In the smaller end of the market, I'm just taking a look at some of those companies. IKE GPS, Affinity is looking good, and Ainsworth Game Technologies. And on the flip side, though, we do have Genetic Signatures, Jupiter Mines, and Bluebet. Bluebet off by 5.7%. So tonight we will be hearing from the ECB President Christine Lagarde. She is speaking, so we'll hear what she says potentially on tariffs or trade war, and we get consumer inflation expectations in the United States. Tomorrow we get the NAB Business Survey and the monthly Consumer Confidence Index. We also have earnings from CSL, from Computershare, from SGH Group, formerly known as Seven Group Holdings, and we get a quarterly update coming from Macquarie. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So we look forward to bringing you all of that information as it comes to hand tomorrow. Final look at where this market is finishing up, and not finishing up, it's finishing about 0.4% lower. So it's tariffs, it's the uncertainty being brought about by that. We've got US dollar strength happening right now. So 25% steel and aluminium tariffs. We've got our government working to try to secure an exemption for that. But financials and the miners really did drag this market lower, tech as well. All right, don't forget, we do have an upcoming event here. It's Ausbiz Capital event. It's an investor event that you can register and watch for free. That's it for today. We'll see you when we're live, 9:45 tomorrow.